Live from downtown Detroit, Local 4 News at 5 starts now.
The mayor says enough is enough.
What are 14-year-olds doing out at midnight in a group of people randomly firing off shots?
The city of Detroit launches a crackdown on curfew violators in a bid to stop a summer surge in violence. At an announcement today, the chief says 911 calls about large groups of juveniles will get a priority 1 response. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Kimberly Gill.
And I'm Ty Steele. Today's announcement comes after a string of shootings and what the mayor calls a shift in trends from last summer. Let's get out to Pamela Osborne live tonight. Pamela, the change in response isn't the only thing that's happening.
Yeah, you know, city leaders say there are just simply too many young people out at all hours of the night. So starting today, they're going to be stepping up their curfew enforcement, a measure they say will not only keep kids out of trouble, but also prevent them from becoming victims of crime.
What we've seen in the last 30 days is that our problems have changed and our strategies have to change.
Over the course of a month, there have been 20 shootings involving minors in the city of Detroit. Of that 20, 12 of them have happened after curfew between the hours of 10 p.m. and 4 a.m.
It's becoming clear to the chief and me that these folks have figured out the mobile field force is going home at 3 o'clock and have adjusted their strategies.
As a result, Mayor Mike Duggan says they're adjusting their strategy too. He's authorized overtime so that these mobile field force units can operate until 5 a.m. or later should information arise about late night gatherings or street parties.
We're moving with a sense of urgency to ensure that we protect our most vulnerable members of this community, which are our young people.
Chief Todd Bettison noting this past holiday weekend alone, 6 young people were shot. The emphasis will be on groups of juveniles out past curfew and illegal street parties. Those calls have been elevated to priority 1 calls. For kids under the age of 15, curfew kicks in at 10 p.m. For 16 and 17-year-olds, it's 11. The only exception is if they're out with a parent or a responsible adult.
I will tell the parents that we need you to step up. We need you to ensure that you know where your kids are.
So let's talk a little bit more about this enforcement because there is a penalty. We're talking about fines of $75 or $100 based on how many offenses there are here. And the mayor, Mike Duggan, he's calling on city council to do even more. We'll talk more about that at 6 o'clock. We'll also talk more about that shooting that injured a 2-year-old boy over the weekend. For now, reporting live outside of DPD headquarters, I'm Pamela Osborne, Local 4.
It's a policy shift we hope makes a difference. Pamela, thank you.
The losses in the Texas Hill Country are staggering. At least 89 people are dead, 27 of them young girls at a summer camp. And this graphic right here explains exactly what happened in a matter of 3 hours. The Guadalupe River went from 1 foot to 34 feet. That's close to 15 feet higher than a major flood stage. Jay Gray is in Texas tonight as the search for victims intensifies.
Good evening. Day 4 of the rescue and recovery here in the Texas Hill Country is continuing. Give you a look at the current conditions in the Guadalupe River. This river jumped its banks and it's still not back to where it was before the storms, but it has receded. That's good news. You can see the trees on the other side bent and snapped, laying on one another. It's like a bunch of dominoes that fell over on that side of the river. To show you that wall of water that everyone talks about and how dramatic it was, it started there, came up this hill well over 20 feet and ultimately all the way across this yard and into the community center here where they have water damage they are working on. You can see some of the people out and trying to get things ready here. All of that as the search and rescue continues here as well. Around the clock, they are working to try and find survivors in this rubble. And today, the mayor of Kerrville talked about that effort and what it's doing to his community.
I need to tell my community and those families who are waiting, this will be a rough week. Primary search continues, and we remain hopeful every foot, every mile, every bend of the river.
Yeah, and look, it is going to be a tough go for so many who are struggling here, but the crews, the recovery teams, hundreds of responders still on the ground here say they will continue to work day and night until everyone here is found. That's the very latest from here in Kerrville. I'm Jay Gray, NBC News.
Jay, thank you so much. And be sure to stay with us for NBC Nightly News. Tonight, Tom Yamas will be live from Texas as the search continues along the Guadalupe River 4 days after the floods rushed through the region. And ahead at 5:30, we're trying to answer a very important question. Can something like this happen here? It turns out the answer is a little complicated, and we'll have that for you just a little bit later in the show.
Now to some breaking news just into our newsroom within the last 20 minutes. Detroit police have arrested the teen they say opened fire on 2 people right before the Ford fireworks last month. Here he is. Alfonso Cooper Jr. was arrested at a home in Washtenaw County. Chief Todd Bettison says he is confident Cooper was the one that fired shots that night. The shooting was allegedly over a $200 debt. A 17-year-old boy and a 22-year-old woman were hit. Both are expected to recover, thank goodness. We're told the Wayne County prosecutor is reviewing possible charges, and we will keep you posted as we learn more. And here's a live look at the White House in Washington, D.C. tonight, where today President Trump is taking another tough stance on trade. The target today, Japan and South Korea. As Julie Sirkin shows us, this is all happening as Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is in Washington tonight.
President Trump is preparing to meet with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in Washington today, the first time since the U.S. joined Israel in attacking Iran's nuclear facilities last month. The president for months has been pushing for a ceasefire in Israel's 21-month war with Hamas in Gaza. The Israeli leader signaling he's open to an agreement and saying he believes today's conversation with President Trump will help. On Friday, Hamas said it would release all remaining hostages from the 2023 attack on Israel in exchange for an end to fighting and full Israeli troop withdrawal. And it comes as another major deadline looms. President Trump set July 9th as the target date for nations to renegotiate trade deals with the U.S.
The president will also sign an executive order today delaying the July 9th deadline to August 1st.
But with few deals struck and talks lagging, the White House has started sending letters to countries, letting them know which tariffs their exported goods will be hit with upon arrival here.
It could be maybe as many as 15 or so. And they'll be going out on Monday, and some will go out on Tuesday and Wednesday. And
the first 2 letters shared by the president on social media, turning up the heat on Japan and South Korea. Trump saying a 25% import tax will be put on goods on August 1st.
But those letters also make it clear they are open to negotiation. Remember, the president initially said he wants 90 trade deals in 90 days. Now, White House trade advisors are saying they hope to reach about a dozen agreements by Wednesday. The only 2 agreement frameworks have been announced so far, with Vietnam and Britain. In Washington, Julie Sirkin, NBC News.
And meantime, the president's feud with Elon Musk seems to be ramping up once again. The president blasted Musk after the billionaire said he planned to start a 3rd political party. Right now, there's no word if paperwork has been filed to make that an actual reality. Right now, hundreds of nurses and support staff at McLaren-Macomb Hospital are on the picket lines. Nurses say staffing levels inside the hospital are unsafe.
Meanwhile, the hospital says they've offered a competitive compensation package that's in line with hospitals across the country. Our Priya Mann has a look at what's at stake.
It has been a very busy morning here outside of McLaren-Macomb, with nurses walking off the job at 7 o'clock this morning.
It is so sad to see that I am leaving the place that I love.
Joanne Seisberger was still in her scrubs when she joined fellow nurses and support staff on the picket line.
We would love to be inside to take care of our patients, but we wanted to fight for what is right.
What are the issues that you're fighting for?
Safe staffing.
There's not enough staff. You can't do it with no aides, no hooks.
Do you think nurses and patients are at risk?
Yes, 100%.
Nearly 700 workers at McLaren-Macomb are on strike, including 500 nurses and 200 technicians and support staffers. While registered nurses want nurse-to-patient ratios, service workers want a livable wage.
These are the folks that are your lab people who draw your blood, the people who register you, the people who sit with you if you're not safe.
These folks in some cases are relying on Medicaid and SNAP benefits.
Exactly.
In a statement, McLaren-Macomb says the union's decision to take its members on strike is a truly regrettable development, considering the hospital put forth an offer that includes a wage increase that creates a market-leading compensation package, nationally benchmarked staffing ratios, and qualified benefits. Highlights of the latest offer include a 15% pay increase over 3 years, bringing top of scale to more than $59 per hour, maintaining national benchmark staffing ratios, enhanced retention bonuses, and restructured overtime. What is your response when you hear that?
The nurses don't want all the extra bonuses. The nurses want safe staffing.
Nurses say they will be out here on the picket line through Wednesday, although the union says they have been locked out till Saturday. We'll continue to follow this ongoing labor dispute. In Mount Clemens, I'm Priya Mann, Local 4.
Hey, Priya, thank you. And this strike is the latest organized by the union. Last month, more than 100 registered nurses at Henry Ford Hospital in Rochester went on strike over similar concerns. Meanwhile, the hospital says staffing levels inside the hospital are safe, even though that strike is happening outside.
All right, let's get a check on the forecast today on this Monday and what a difference a day makes. Here's a live look outside from our Windsor sky cam. A little bit gray right now. We're getting a chance to give the AC a little bit of a rest after a sweltering weekend that we just had.
Yeah, boy, was it hot. Let's get over to Kim Adams and an update on what we can expect for tonight. Hi, Kim.
Hi, well, we have mostly cloudy conditions tonight, but the good news is that we'll have really decent sleeping weather, which we haven't seen in quite some time. In fact, it's been a really warm stretch, and finally today broke our 90 degree stretch. So today's high was 77. June 19th, it was 75. That's the last time we were below 80 degrees. So 17 days in a row, we had temps that were 80 or higher. And today was the first time we broke that stretch. And it's only going to be for today as we get back into the mid 80s tomorrow. But right now, mostly cloudy skies. Temps are about in the low 70s. And then tomorrow we make it back into the mid 80s, but not quite a humid day for us tomorrow. So I think tomorrow is really going to be the pick of the week. And then we get back into a rainy, humid pattern with storms expected on Wednesday. And we'll talk about that in a few minutes.